Hello and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name is Jason Newland. Let's have a look at the date. What is it? The Sunday 22nd of March 2026. So next weekend will be when the clocks go forward or back, one of them. So forward, which means 6 o'clock in the evening will be 7 o'clock in the evening, which means it will still be light at 7. Getting dark, but still doable. Today I think I went out 10 to 6. It was definitely dusk, the sun wasn't out. But I could see around me. The lights came on in the streets. Vinny was absolutely possessed with the building across the road, and I don't know why. I don't know what it was. He just kept staring at the front of this building. Staring and staring and staring. And on the way out, so I'm walking towards the park, and there's this big van, so I kind of can't really see behind the van, and he runs in the road, which he doesn't normally do, but he kind of caught me off track, doing it, off guard maybe. And his friend Archie was across the road on the way home from a walk. Is it weird? I'm just about to tell you this story, and I realised that it's seriously boring. It's really boring. Isn't it weird? Even I kind of wasn't sure if I wanted to tell it. I don't know if I do. And it's just a story. The story basically is Vinny crosses the road to say hello to Archie. They say hello. We walk back to the end of the road. We talk about Easter eggs. Archie doesn't answer. And then that's it. That's the whole story. Now I wonder if I can get an hour of just that little bit of what happened, if I can go into so much detail that I can get an hour out of it. Do you think it's possible? I've got a bit of a chest infection. I've had it for a little while now, but it's not as bad as what it was. It's weird though, because if I talk, I don't cough when I talk to people. When I go to do the podcast, I start coughing. It's weird. It's probably because I don't want to cough. Like psychologically, I'm thinking, right, don't cough. And I start coughing. It's a little bit like yawning. Or don't get aroused, when you're at a funeral. Don't get aroused. It's just like trying to stop yourself, and the opposite happens, So weird last night actually. A weird thing happened. One of the neighbours, there was shouting going on, but didn't really know what was going on. Just heard shouting. This was like in the building, like, ooh. Because it's been a while since we've really had anything like that. It's been probably over a year, I would say, since maybe last summer. I don't know. But I haven't haven't really had much in the way of commotion in this building for some time. So it was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say shock, just a bit of a, ooh. Because if I was shocked, I wouldn't go, ooh. I don't know what the right word is. Bit of a not tumble, because that had more of a ooh. Bit of a surprise maybe. But it's like, wow. That doesn't really sound right, does it, for something that's not necessarily positive? It's like, what a surprise! Shall I call an ambulance? I don't know what it was. Hopefully nothing serious, but it's just weird. It kind of gave me a little bit of a flashback from the past of living here. Because although I don't go into details, and I don't think I ever really have, I probably have actually, but not detailed details, but I've kind of brushed over some of the stuff that's happened since I've lived here, and I just would not wish to go back to that. It was just chaotic. That's really all it was, really, just chaotic. Now the whole building seems to be relatively settled. Everyone who lives here seems to be okay, which is nice. I think settled, it might be boring, might be tedious, but I tell you what, I take that over chaos. Most days of the week. Occasionally a little chaos maybe is interesting, but generally I'm not. Just for gossip purposes, but no, I'm not really into that. Maybe 3 days a week. No, thanks. No, I've been there, done that. Yeah. I could write a book. I could write a book all about my experiences. Ooh. Would it be boring though? Because if I was to write a book and I actually had the word boring in the title, would anyone want to read it? Would anyone purchase it? If I wrote a book, let me bore you to sleep, my life story, it doesn't sound very, you know what I mean? I'm not even selling it to myself. Even I don't want to read it, and I've not written it yet, and it's about me. I don't know. I've heard different people say things about books, like everyone's got a book in them. And then I've heard other people being a bit more negative, saying everyone thinks they've got a book in them, but most people don't. But I would say that that's not true, actually. Because everyone's life story, no one's story is going to be exactly the same as anyone else's. There'll be similarities. You know, if someone's born and they might have been born in the same area, and maybe they were born in Germany, let's say, for example, and their parents were in the armed forces, for the UK armed forces, so they would have experienced a lot of similar things, like travelling around and all that stuff. So maybe you say, well, they did experience it, same life, but it's different parents, isn't it? How they experience it and how their reaction, their response to that kind of lifestyle. Some might love it, some might not love it. So I do think that everybody has a life story, but maybe not everybody can write it. And I think I'm worried that, well, I'm not worried, but I think I might be in that department of not being able to write it. I can verbalise it in chunks, but even ChatGPT, which is, the most advanced AI system in the world, or among them, can't decipher my recordings. It can't make head or tail of what I talk about. Seriously, I put 150 transcripts of recordings, or 250, and it still said that it wasn't really sure what I was talking about. It's like probably 250 to 300 hours of me talking, and it still said, well, I'm not really sure what you're waffling on about. Can you tell me a bit about myself from these recordings? We didn't like going to school. There's got to be more to me than just being a grumpy old man who didn't like going to school. I mean, how many people like going to school? There's got to be, maybe a lot of people did, and I hope you did if you're listening to this. But I don't care actually, but I didn't like it. But that's not my whole life. I left school at 15. I'm now 55. That's, blimey. I don't even want to say the word out aloud, how many years that is. So the majority of my life has not been at school, if we ignore college and university and stuff. So it's the only thing I ever mention is school and how I didn't particularly enjoy it. Is that all I've done for 8 years? 8 years. So I can't be deciphered. My talking, my verbalizations are just unfollowable even by AI. Now I know technically they're not supposed to be that followable when it comes to, well, the reason why I'm making recordings is so that you can drift off and get bored, and maybe it isn't quite so easy to follow because I might start talking about something else. I don't know, like the grass in the park being cut a couple of days ago. Was it 3 days? I think it was Wednesday actually. And they leave these strips. I've told you about this before. They leave these strips. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 strips where they just let the grass grow. So they cut around it when they cut the rest of the grass. And apparently it's because they want to encourage wildlife. Which was, I mean, to be fair, I did see a penguin in there the other day. And, I'm sure last year I spotted a giraffe, but it's hard to tell. Because they're just so small, aren't they? And, realistically, I've seen one butterfly and one bee in the last probably 5 years they've been doing it. I'll tell you what does grow in that grass. Fleas, or what likes to live there. Fleas and ticks and those darty things that aren't very good for dogs. They can get stuck in their foot and, whatever. There's a lot, this, and they're the favouriteest place for dogs to run into to do toilets. and you can't find it because the grass is too long, and human wants to walk in that grass because it's full of poo. And Vinny likes to run in there and roll around. I don't let him. But when he was off the lead a few years back, he used to do that, and I can't. What are you doing? So I just join him, you know. And all the not all the dog walkers, but quite a few of the dog walkers, even people that don't walk the dogs, moan about it. I mean, someone was saying the other day that they contacted the council, and when they contacted the council last year, they came and shaved it away, or cut it off, trimmed it. Shaved seems better because it's kind of like a landing strip, like a pubic. No, you know, it's like a landing strip. Like, just needs a bit of shaving. But this person, I don't know if it was a man or woman, because I can't remember whether it really was a real conversation or I'm just making it up. And they said that the council came and did it straight away last time. But they keep leaving it. Because whenever they cut the grass is always fairly long before they actually get around to cutting it. And of course it grows pretty quick, doesn't it? There's certain times of the year. The question I've got is, if they really, you know, they're trying to encourage wildlife, yeah. I live in the countryside. You walk for 5 minutes and you're in fields. Whichever direction you go, you're in fields. This whole estate is surrounded by miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of fields from all angles. And there's a motorway that goes through the fields. Because wherever you stand in this country, whether it's London, whether it's Birmingham, whether it's Newcastle or Bristol. By the way, who listens to me regularly in Bristol? Because Bristol's one of my biggest listeners. I guess there's more than one person, but who's listening in Bristol? Say hi. Come and see. Not come and see me. Come and say hello. So let's say I'm in Bristol, and then you just, I don't know, in a helicopter, let's say, and you set a camera focused on my bald patch. Why would you do that? It's just cruel and rude. You know, if you're trying to land on it, I suppose that's even ruder. But you kind of pulling up, realise that my bald patch wasn't an actual airport landing strip. And so you're pulling up, and as you pull up, you're getting higher and higher. You can still see my bald patch. You may be 100 foot in the air. The trees are becoming distant. You know, the park or the houses, they're becoming more like clogged together. You can still see my bald patch, of course, because it's so massive. And ninth wonder of the world. And as you go up, no matter where you are in this country, no, you can't see my bald patch. Wherever you are in the country, once you get the camera and you go higher into the sky, you realise that everything is surrounded by countryside. This whole country is countryside, with gaps, with towns, with a few cities. It's all countryside. It's like, even though London is surrounded by countryside, I'm in countryside. So this is kind of like more of a dot where I am. and then countryside all the way around it. I mean, from a distance, probably it would look like, I don't know. I got an idea it would look like a triangle, just a little triangle of red, maybe from the bricks, surrounded by a lot of countryside. I mean, you could literally walk from one town to the other through the countryside. There's walks, like public walkways. I say that like I've done it. I haven't, and I never will. But they do exist. Oh, there seems to be a lot of stuff in the paper about getting facelifts. I don't know if I was ever going to get any kind of, surgical cosmetic stuff done. I would have got that done a long time ago. It's too late now. I mean, I would have had a nose job, and I'd probably try and get something done with my skin to make my skin less pink. Outside of that, there was nothing else I really needed. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's the only thing, make my nose look nice. I probably would have, had a different kind of life. But I say work with what you got. I just couldn't be bothered. And ultimately, what's weird about it is, I noticed this when I was about 23. Yeah, I was dating this person. Well, 23. When I was about 23, I was 23 years old. And I was dating this person. And I'd really liked her since the age of 17. But I'd never dated her until I was 23. At this point, she was in her 30s, I think. She was 25 when I was 17. So I don't know. I was just a friend until 25. Or 23, sorry. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So she'd have been about 31. Which is completely irrelevant to the story. But, like most things. Oh, I did see some ladybirds in that grass. The nature grass, naturism grass. So I cut in ladybirds. They were naked. They took it a bit too seriously. It's not what we mean by naturist. Yeah, so I realised, because for me it was all about how she looked. Less so at that age, but when she was, when I was 17, I was completely in love with her, and it was based on, I liked her personality kind of, but it was basically based on how she looked. And I couldn't really figure out how to maneuver those emotions or hormones or whatever. But then I realised when I was 23, I was in bed with her. Don't worry, this is not X-rated. We'd finished the business. This is not an X-rated recording. What I noticed, when we was in bed and the lights were off, first of all, I couldn't see her. So I thought, well, 8 hours of the day, I'm not even going to be able to see her face. So it kind of doesn't matter what she looks like then. So me being all going on about how people look, then it kind of won't matter. And then I thought, if I lived with her and I was at work 8 hours a day, add another 2 hours for travelling, so it's 10 hours a day. So that's 18 hours a day. I'm not going to see her. I'm not even going to be looking at her. So, and I pointed this out to her, that in a way, it doesn't really matter that she's getting older. Now she's 31 and I was, 23. Because, if I did move in with you, I wouldn't see you much anyway. And it came across wrong. I didn't mean it like that. Because I really fancied her. Like, big time. But not even, but when she was 23. Probably more so, to be fair. So, no, it's not true. It's not true. But I did really, because I actually had a relationship with her. But I realised, well, I can't see you when we're in bed asleep. And I remember saying to her, why come you like to have the lights off? Because she did say, just to let you know, because we had a little bit of a dalliance when I was 18. It was a little thing. It wasn't anything heavy, but it was a little kiss and a cuddle, as it were. And I remember that the day after, wow. So I was working in this factory, a meter factory, and I lived just around the corner from her. So I think I went home about 2 o'clock in the morning, went back to it, and I had to be at work at 6. And I couldn't get to sleep. But I was walking around my job, smiling all day. Because I was in love with her. I absolutely adored her. And she let me... I can't word this correctly. I'm sorry, I'm just getting childish now when I think about it. We had a kiss, and I noticed I'm not going to say anything else. So anyway, when we got together when I was 23, and we were going upstairs, to the bedroom, because I lived in London, so I was staying there with her, and it was the first time I'd stayed over ever at her house. And she said, "I'll just let you know, I'm not quite the same as I was when I was 25. My body's changed a bit." And I thought, yeah, so's mine. I didn't say anything about my body changing, but I kind of thought, okay. I didn't know she'd grown a willy or something. I thought, what's going on? But yeah, she said, it's changed a bit. I said, oh. I wanted to say it doesn't matter, but I thought, I better not say that just in case it does. And just, I don't know what she was concerned about anyway. But she had the light off. I'd never slept with her before, so I'd never been in her bed before, so I was kind of confused about you got the light off while we're in bed together, like not sleeping, but talking to each other and holding hands, that stuff, planning the future, trying to outdo each other's ideas for inventions concerning cheese. And so I was looking up at her, and kind of, I think she was there, and I said, have you got the lights off because you're concerned about what I'm gonna think of your body, because you mentioned it earlier, that you know, like that you don't look the same as you did 6 years ago. And she said, no. I said, what is it then? Because I was concerned then, because I wasn't sure what to do. I said, oh, are you okay? What's wrong? She said, well, I think it'll put me off seeing you. I said, what? You don't want to see me? She said, no, I want to see you. Like, I like you a lot, but I just don't want to look at you at certain times. What do you mean? She said that you're a bit distracting. What do you mean distracted? She said, well, I remember that face you made, when I was 25 and I let you touch my knee. I remember that face, and I'm not sure if I could take you seriously with that face. I said, it's the same face I have all the time. She said, I know, that's the problem. Now, how am I supposed to know if you're enjoying yourself or not? If you keep the same facial expression. I said, well, what do you want me to do? What can I? Because back then, I was much younger, and I actually was concerned with pleasing my partner. I was. It's hard to believe, but I used to really care about being a decent. I don't want to use the word lover, but you know what I mean. I want to be, a decent partner. Partner, that's a better word, isn't it? To be a decent partner in those aspects. Because I figured I probably wouldn't be in other aspects, so maybe I can try and be there, and then they'd forgive my moodiness sometimes, which I knew was a problem. So, and me saying the wrong things, which I think I've done today. But hey, it's all in love and remembrance. There's only so many inventions you can do with cheese that don't involve mouse traps, So I said, well, we can have the lights on a little bit. You don't have to have full blast, like spotlights, like, you're interrogating me. Although you would get the truth out of me if you kept doing what you're doing. She didn't laugh. I did. And I didn't go, I might have laughed. I don't know what my laugh was like back then. I didn't laugh a lot. I was quite a miserable kid, really. I laughed, but when I was... Well, how many contradictions can I do? When I was a teenager, when I left school, I did have a laugh and I joked around, but it was like my personality kept changing, and I went from being happy to not being happy, to being miserable, to being overexcited, and I was all over the place. And I didn't know what it was, but it seemed to get worse during those years. So I guess it was a mixture of the bipolar plus the mixture of adolescence and, turning into a so-called man. I don't know if I really did very well with the man stuff. Why is it called manscaping, though? And was it the manosphere? Isn't that the new term now? Do you feel I should do that? I'm surprised that Louis Theroux didn't ask me to do that documentary on men who really are admired by the younger generation of men. They're looked up to, they're almost worshipped, and everything they say is followed, you know, on how a man should be. How come Louis Theroux didn't interview me for that documentary, The Manosphere, I think it's called? I mean, surely there's got to be some men out there thinking, yeah, I want to be just like Jason. He's such a manly man. A man's man. I never understood that term. A man's. I want a man's man. So what does that mean? I want a man's man. So you want someone that hasn't read a book since they left school? Yeah, but that's not a man. It's like, what is that? What is a man's man? What is that? Someone that's obsessed with football. Someone that has no way of expressing their feelings unless alcohol and, a sport is involved. Watching a sport, of course, not actually participating in it. I mean, is that what a man is? I don't know. I never understood it. Because I've loved boxing as an adult, or since I was a kid, but never that whole being part of a group. And because basically you see football, some people who go and watch football is they revert back to being little kids again, and it must be lovely for them. Really, it must be absolutely beautiful, a lovely feeling. So maybe they go into football with their kids like they did with their dad, maybe. And it's kind of passed on the torch of ignorance. They passed on the torch of the love of getting together with a crowd of people that all have the same passion. Sounds like a religion, doesn't it? So I remember there was an advert years ago on Sky saying, football is Britain's religion. It's like, wow. I thought, you haven't been to London lately. Football is not Britain's religion. I don't know what it is, but it's not football. The football, how many football teams are there in London? For a short while, for a little while, I moved and lived in Green Street, which is just up the road. It's in East London. It's just up the road from, it is the road where West Ham, football ground was. So yeah, I lived in the same road as West Ham football ground in Green Street. And this is going back 96. So I'd lived in Newham, because that was part of Newham. So I lived in Stratford, which was at the time the most multicultural place in the entire country, possibly the world. Like in Newham, it was like you had every single language, religion, ethnicity, whatever, everything, from every part of the world. So it was, I lived there for 11 years, so I was used to it. It was a little bit different from when I first moved there. It was a bit different from what I was used to. But I still wasn't prepared for when I went to Green Street. Because literally, I didn't hear. Yeah, I used to go into go out the flat, go downstairs, because there was stairs, because we was upstairs. I don't know how many times I can say stairs. Stairs. And it was kind of like a little alleyway, and then I'd turn left and go into Green Street. It's opposite a pub. And I would listen, and I wouldn't hear any English. Now, a lot of people say stuff like that, they're being rude and whatever. This is genuine. I couldn't. It was kind of like being in another country. I'd lived in East London for years at this point, but I'd never lived in a community which was so. I don't even know what community it is. I don't know if it was Bangladesh or. I couldn't tell you exactly. I didn't ask. But every shop outside of the main, there was Iceland. I think there was a Sainsbury's. But outside of those stores and a couple of other little bits, everything, all the shops were aimed at the culture that lived there. And there was loads of dress shops. There was this big, down the road there was this big marketplace that sold. I looked around, I didn't recognise any of the food or any of the things they were selling. It was crocodiles, and it was no, it wasn't, but it was definitely out of my knowledge base. To be honest, I quite liked it. It's probably one of the safest places I've ever felt that I lived. Although something did happen, but not it with them. So walking around during the day, the only problem is it's hard to get on the pavement because there was so many people. On a Saturday, it was busier than it was. It was kind of like. Have you ever been to Oxford Street at Christmas? On a Saturday, during the build up to Christmas. On a Saturday, Oxford Street, or probably maybe Tottenham Court Road, but let's say Oxford Street or Charing Cross Road, just so busy. So busy. And I'd end up having to walk in the road. Because when people went out, like I was just going out on my own, it looked like whole families were going out together to go shopping, which is something that, I'll be honest, I've never done. When I was a kid, my stepmom, she used to take me shopping. Like I'd help her with the shopping, but it would just be me. There wouldn't be all of the family together going shopping. I'm not sure quite what the advantage of doing that is. But hey, I understand if you want me to go shopping, you're coming with me. I'll do the shopping, but come on. Come on, kids. Come on, husband. We'll go shopping. We'll get walking. I'll walk behind you. Is it 7 foot behind you? I can't remember. I don't know. There's a lot of traditions that I didn't really get my head around. But it was very strange. I liked it, actually. A lot of different smells because of the perfumes, what do you call them? Not perfumes. Those aromatic cooking stuff that they would have in shops. So, cause I think it was maybe Pakistanis or Bangladeshis. I'm not saying they're the same people. I just don't know where they were from because no one spoke to me. There was no English. The only person who spoke in English outside of the shops, the supermarkets, and the pub was, in my experience, was the newsagents. But they were also from the same, I don't know, from somewhere, but they spoke English because I guess they had to. But probably everyone could speak English. I just can't really be in a group of like, let's say there was 1,000 people, probably a couple of thousand people in that road, maybe more. you can't really just be one person and like shout out, speak English. It's not really in a position to do that. You know, it's not that I wanted to anyway. But the only thing my problem is, I want to know what people are saying. So I don't care what language people are talking, but I do want to know what they're saying. I wish there was some kind of subtitles. There was someone just... If people had like a TV on their back or on their front, and you could see what they were saying to each other, so you kind of move around. Or ideally, I think it's in Star Trek, have one of those earbud things where you can understand any language, because people do talk about you, not you, but you know, in Thailand there was this bloke, and he could speak Thai fluently, and he also went to Japan. There was someone who did it in Japan, in China, someone did it in Russia, the same kind of thing. And they were Western, but they had they knew the language fluently, and all of them were talked about. Wasn't always bad. I mean, one bloke went in there, and the people, the staff behind the counter, the coffee place, were actually talking about how handsome he was. So I assume that happened to me a lot when I was abroad. It's hard to tell. When I was in France, I didn't know many words, but this obviously means handsome. Handsome man. I heard a lot when I was in public. Petit pini. Un petit pini. So that obviously means handsome man. I'm not sure what it means in Thailand, what Thailand's handsome man means. But then there was this, there was this bloke in Japan, and he went in there, and the Japanese were being rude about him. And he started talking. Oh, this is how they do it. They just carry on talking English, like, do you understand English, and whatever. And then listen to what the other people are saying, and then they start talking in the language of the country. So in this instance, it was Japanese, and started talking in Japanese, and they were so embarrassed because they'd just been saying some unsavoury things towards him. So you never know, do you? I mean, I worked with someone once, and they were from another country, and they never spoke, so I just assumed they didn't understand English. I was a much younger person back then, and for some reason I thought it'd be okay just to say whatever I wanted. Well, it turned out they could speak English, and they weren't impressed with what I was saying. That was a weird one. So yeah, kind of learnt my lesson on that one. But when I moved away from London, I remember I was on a bus, and I was in Suffolk. I moved closer to my nan because she was not doing so well, so I'd wanted to spend more time with her and live closer to her again, which is what I did. So I moved from London, and I was on the bus to visit her, and something felt really odd. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Very strange. And then I realised everybody on this bus is white, and they're all speaking English, those that are speaking, but mainly it's quiet. Now, there's some buses you get in London and they're not quiet, and it's really weird. It felt uncomfortable because I was just so used to being around people from all over the world, and also people born here whose parents or grandparents or great-great-grandparents were from other places. And I was just used to that. After 11 years, I just became used to it. It was almost standard. And then to move away and to go to a relatively non-cosmopolitan, a non-cosmopolitan mixed society is where I moved to, somewhere where there was not much going on like that. And it's kind of strange. But then it was okay, because then I moved into an asylum hotel. So I made up for it. And you might be thinking, yeah, asylum hotel, sure. No, actually, literally, I did. I moved into, basically it was a YMCA. I rented this studio flat. And I don't know when they moved people in. It might have been like exactly the same time as me. Maybe before, maybe a little bit afterwards. I can't quite remember. But suddenly the whole place was full of, I don't know if it was Afghanistan's or someone from kind of that part of the world. And I saw firsthand what it was like to be around like large groups of people that didn't really have many options of what to do. And of course they were all excited because they'd all been given new Mercedes and, just waiting for their big mansions, because, everyone gets those when they come over, don't they? So I think a lot of them were living in the same, sharing rooms with each other. They were eating downstairs. There was a canteen, like restaurant thing. But they were just wandering around because they didn't have anything to do. And they didn't want to be inside, because it wasn't a hotel, but it was a refuge. It was used, the YMCA. They had studio apartments which you could probably fit 2 people in, with different single beds, maybe 3. 2 probably, I'd say. And they had all the resources they really needed, I guess, like with the restaurant downstairs. There was a gym, there was a bar. I didn't even find out about the bar until I was like the last year of living there. Probably good I didn't, but... And... yeah, it's kind of... it was a very unusual experience. The only thing that I didn't super enjoy was they used the radiators as drum kits. I thought they were singing, but I think it was prayers, actually. And Vinny's now being right, I don't want to use the word, but he's being a little bit annoying. I don't know why. He just goes, He just starts squeaking for no reason. And there's no reason for it, though. No, it's literally no reason. Why does he do it, though? I don't know, though. It's weird. He's a strange young fella. Our Vinny Minelli. And I go over and say, what is it? And he jumps off the settee and now he's hiding under the table. Like he's in trouble. And I wasn't telling him he was in trouble. I was just like, what? Maybe because I wasn't giving him attention. I don't know. He just had his dinner. He's he's eating his dinner. I've managed to find a nice combination where he eats his dinner all up. And he has 2 bowls of food a day. And it's a mixture of dog food, like wet dog food, some dry food, because there's small bits, but dry food mixed in, and then a slice of cold meat. I put that in there, mix that up. And then I give him one little piece of meat in the kitchen, and then I put a couple of bits, it's like a little trail, I put a little bit on the floor just in front of the bowl, and one hanging over the bowl. So he goes up to the bowl, and then once he starts, I guess he can't stop because he's sort of tucking in. And it's worked, and I'm going to keep doing that now. Can't believe it. He just refused to eat his dinner. Because he didn't want it. It just didn't, it wasn't what he wanted. And all he was interested in was treats. And I don't mind giving him treats now. If he's eating his dinner, I'll give him a treat. I'm okay with that. I know, Vinny. Eh? What are you hiding under there in the dark for? Such a wally. You're such a wally head. But I found that interesting, but I could see living there myself, because it's quite a small a small studio. They didn't want to be in there all day, especially in the summer. So they'd go out and, yeah, they were in groups because what are they going to walk around on their own and get lost? At least you're in a group. It's what English people do. You know, if a group of people went to Belgium, like when I went to Belgium, I don't want to talk about Belgium. I like Belgium, but some people think that I've got an issue with Belgium, and I don't. I love it. Flattest country in the world. Which is good, because I don't like hills. I do wonder, though, like on a bike, the good thing about having a hill is when you go down the hill, you literally don't have to pedal at all for ages, do you, if it's a flat bit. But then, then you got the up the hill bit, which is not so good. But complete flatness, does that mean you have to keep pedaling the whole time, isn't it, really? So, when I went to Belgium, I think it was 1988, and I went with some friends from work. We all went over there. It was about, 5 of us, 4 or 5. Went over on the ferry, and we were walking around as a group. Because that's what people do. You stick together with people that you know. It's standard practice, isn't it? It's like they just all take off in their own different directions. Although that is probably what I'd prefer to do these days, but especially now I know where some things are. But I remember one of the people I was with, he shouted out, "An English person!" He heard someone speaking English, and he went over and he was like hugging them. "English, hi!" We'd only be off the boat for about 10 minutes. The ferry. We'd been off the boat for 10 minutes, and the boat was full of English people. So he struggled to go 10 minutes without hearing English people talking. And we were all talking. He got so excited to hear an English voice. With literally 10 minutes without, it's like, honestly, he got so excited, his hat fell off. And you might think, well, why mention that? It's just, I remember his hat fell off. I think it might have gone blown by the wind. You know, one of those moments where you're running after it and it keeps, just as you get to it, it keeps blowing away. And it seems like it's someone's got some like fishing line or something attached to it and they keep pulling it as a prank. But there is no one there. Because if there was someone there, you'd see them. Because they can't hide behind a hill, can they? Because it's flat. It's just flat. Imagine living somewhere that you can see where you're going, wherever you go to. If you've got binoculars, like you could say, oh, where do you live? Well, over there. Look at my binoculars. That house. Oh, I live over there. God, where is it? Oh, that house. Oh, okay. You can see each other's houses. You literally look out the window and see each other. Wherever you live in Belgium. Must be perfect for golf courses. Do they have grass in Belgium, though? I don't know. Is there grass and parks and stuff there? I didn't see any. But we didn't really have a lot of time to explore. There was one weird thing. One of my friends I was with, for some reason, he decided to walk up an alleyway because he was intrigued in what was up there. And he came back and he was literally, he was stuttering. He was literally tripping over his own tongue. It's like, what? So, calm down. What is it? He said, there's something up there. I said, okay, what is it? A bear? Or, no, it's not a bear. Why would it be a bear? I said, well, what is it then? He said, can't you see? Just look. I said, oh, okay, fair enough. And he said, it's a lady in a window. I said, a lady in a window. When he said that, I just had this image of those boats inside the bottles. And I thought maybe there was a window with a woman trapped inside. I don't know why, that would be quite a weird thing. And he said, no, that's a weird thing to say. Why would you think of boats and bottles? And then he thought, oh, because we just come on a boat, haven't we? And some of us have been drinking out of bottles. I said, yeah, I know. So I said, well, where? He said, there. Because I realised I couldn't see the side because it was just, there was a building. Couldn't see inside the windows. So we walked up and there was a lady sitting on a chair in clothing that probably she wouldn't wear at a wedding or in Sainsbury's or a supermarket. Potentially. I mean, I'm fine whatever people want to wear whenever, because I'm not a prude. I'm open to everything and everyone. Not everything, not everyone, but you know what I mean. I'm fairly flexible. Not physically, but you know. And we were all standing around, absolutely entranced at probably potentially the most female flesh that I'd seen on a human person that was actually real in front of me. Well, no, but it was near close. It was, it was very kind of, oh. And we were just standing there looking at her and trying to communicate. Because it wasn't so much language barrier, it was not being able to hear each other barrier. And in the end, she opened the window. There was actually a door in the window, which we didn't realise. She opened it up, stuck her head out, and said, "Will you piss off?" I was like, okay. And we did, we left. Turns out it was one of my friend's mums. That was good. She said, "Oh, Jason, how you doing?" I said, "All right, thanks. How are you doing?" He said, "Yeah. How's Dean?" "Oh, he's doing well. Yeah, he's done really, really well. You know, he's still a chef. Got his own restaurant now. Is he? Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. He's still wearing that thing on his head. Yeah, still wearing that thing on his head. No one's mentioned to him, have they? No one mentioned that it looks a bit weird. No one's mentioned it. Why do you think that is? Well, maybe they're a bit scared too. They're a bit unsure about how he'd react to it. Or maybe it's because they just love apple pie and they like seeing it on his head. Because he wore apple pie on his head. How much of that actually made any kind of sense? I don't know. Am I responsible for the lack of sensicalness of the recording? Maybe I am. I don't know. What's happened today? What was I going to say? Yeah, Vinny was absolutely obsessed with that building. I don't know what it was. I don't know. And my friend's son phoned me up or sent me a text. Could I get that £20 that you promised? Because I can't get to work. I've got no money for my what's it called, motorbike. And I said okay, because basically he's 17. He's waiting to go into the army. He's literally just waiting to do the weekend training, and then if he passes that, which I'm sure he will, he'll then be going on to the 36 weeks or whatever it is training. So in the meantime, he got a job in McDonald's. But because of where I live, because he lives with his mum around the corner, there's nothing in this area. He can't get there he can get there by bus, but he can't get home by bus because the buses are stopped. And it's a good hour and a half walk. Maybe longer. For me, probably 3 hours. But if you walk fast, hour and a half or hour and 20 minutes. So that's a long walk. And a couple of weeks ago, because it just started, he said, can I borrow 20 quid to get some petrol so I can get to work? And when I get paid, you're going to have to, I'll get it back to you. I said, yeah, cool, no worries. So I just put it into his account from my bank. And I said to him at the time, if you need any more, if you need another 20 quid to fill your petrol up to get to work, just ask me and I can do that, until you get paid, because it takes a month to get paid. And he said, well, they're still having problems with the payment system, and could I do the £20? Because he hadn't asked me since then. I said, yeah, fine. Then I look at my phone, go on to do the online banking to put the £20 into his account. Online banking system not working. So I sent him a text message saying, sorry, can't do it. The bank's not working. The online thing's not working. He said, I'm going to lose a job if I don't get there. I've got to be there by 1:30 or whatever. And I'm like, oh. So this is by text. So I phoned up the bank. They said the system was down and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with it. So I phoned the neighbours downstairs. They don't answer, and I send her a text just saying, if you got 20 cash, I can just borrow until the bank system comes back on, and I can just chuck the money into your account. because we get on really well. It wasn't for me anyway, but it would literally just be for a couple of hours, I was hoping. Because usually when the bank system's down, when the banking app's down, it comes back on within a few hours. I'm going to check now to see if it's come back on. It has. So it's back on now. That's good. So it wasn't. And I thought, oh, I don't want to walk to the... Because the only other thing now is like, my neighbour downstairs wasn't answering, so I think she was in bed. She answered when I got home, so it was too late. But it was fine, because what I did is I had to walk to the petrol station to get the money. And I didn't want to do that because I don't like going there. I don't like... Just don't like it. I have issues with going places. So I said to him, if you walk up to the petrol station with me, I'll try and get the money out. Can't guarantee it's going to allow it, but I'll try. So we did that, and it did work. And he ran off to get himself sorted for work. I'm not sure that after the event I thought he probably would have been better to just ride his bike to the petrol station and meet me there, wouldn't he? So he could fill his bike up. That would have probably got him to work quicker, but oh well. And then when I got back, my neighbour had contacted me saying, oh, I'd missed your call and I got no money. I said, okay, it's fine. I called him up just to explain what it was. And I gave her 20 quid. Or 30 quid actually, till tomorrow. Because I drew out 50 quid out of my bank. I don't know why I did that, because I need that money in the bank for tomorrow, or the Tuesday probably. So I thought, oh, why did I draw cash out of the bank? Because I can't use it, because I don't go anywhere where I use money, where I use cash. Although I did go into the pet shop and got Vinny a treat to come home with. So I just said to downstairs, because they said I got no money till tomorrow, so I'll have 30 quid to keep you going till tomorrow, and they're just going to put it in my account, because then that's easier for me, because I need that money in the account, and the only way I can get that money into my bank account is walking all the way up to the post office, which is over half an hour walk, and my back doesn't allow it, unfortunately. I know. Or going into town to the bank. So it all worked out okay in the end. In the end, it worked out. It worked out. So yeah, I would say Green Street was probably one of my favourite places to live in East London, because I've never been around so many people and actually felt safe before. I felt safe. I don't know if it was because it was families, because it was all... I don't know what it was. Not that I felt unsafe anywhere else, but just it felt very... like a very safe environment. It's weird, quite difficult to explain it really, but very different from living in Stratford or living in Forest Gate or living in Leighton or Leytonstone. It's just very condensed. Yeah. I don't know what it's like now. It could be full of people from Mexico, or it could be full of ginger people. I don't know. How would I know? Do ginger people have communities? I'm semi-ginger, by the way, so I'm talking from a friend position, not enemy, friend. I mean, literally, it's so weird. Part of my hair was ginger, my beard was ginger, and there was kind of a bit of ginger in the family, sort of my dad's generation, his like cousins and stuff, a little bit, but there's definitely ginger in my nan's side, like my dad's uncles and stuff and aunts. But then I don't know if everyone dyed their hair, but then my cousins started dropping kids, squirting them out, and so many of them ginger. Like the ginger gene is really strong, but it doesn't always pass on to the next generation. It can skip. And when I say, I've got at least 4 or 5 ginger cousins, or cousins that have had kids that are ginger, which is quite a lot, to be fair. And it's like, I mean, even one of my cousins looked ginger, but he was blonde. Like, if he had ginger hair, he had the freckles, and he had the kind of, but he was blonde. And I think he was born ginger, but then he went blonde. I remember his mum saying to me, she said, that's the only time praying ever worked. So his mum's mum was ginger, and I personally think that she was ginger, but she just dyed her hair. But it was very kind of hazel, semi-ginger brown, Blimey. That's going back a long, long time. Years and years and years and years and years and years and years. I was thinking the other day that I think I miss moving around. The newness, the freshness, the kind of excitement of moving into a new room, being in a new house. I mean, I really don't want to go back to living in rooms. That's something I don't want. But just moving somewhere where there's a different scene, there's different neighbours, there's somewhere where no one knows me. So I've got to a point where a few people kind of know me to talk to me, which is quite nice in some ways, but I do miss that anonymity that I used to generally have, because I was always on the move. And I rarely kept contact with anybody. And those I did keep contact with eventually fizzled out. So it'd be kind of, I don't know. I do wonder what it'd be like to go back to that kind of lifestyle of just always being on the move. I mean, I stayed with places. I stayed for like years, some places. But then some years I'd move multiple times. I mean, in 1990, I moved 1, 2, 3, 4 times in 1990. No. Or yeah. No, I think I moved more than that. I think I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 6 times in 1990. I sometimes wonder what it'd be like to just talk to that version of me. Would I even be able to hold a conversation with them? Or would I just find them annoying? Or would they find me annoying? I wasn't always the calmest person back then. So I don't know. I don't know what it would have been like. What would I have been like? How amazing would that be, though? Because you've got these movies where people go back in time and see their younger version, and like Christmas Carol and stuff like that. I don't want to see my younger version at any specific time necessarily. It'd just be nice to just have the choice to move around, to sit in the audience and watch myself doing my first karate grading when I was 13. And getting a first class pass. Yeah. See myself in my room at the top of the house when I used to read or used to write songs, write poems. Walking into the chip shop and seeing myself behind the counter, serving. And wrapping stuff up, taking the money, putting it into the till. I wonder what kind of energy I was giving off back then. Being there, wow, when I had my first pub job, just watching me behind a counter, being completely incompetent. Yeah, that would have been funny. I think some people came along every night just to watch me, because I was so rubbish at the job. Maybe go to that day in January 1991 and see myself go on stage and make myself look silly. Or see myself there's a few different things. In some ways, I'd like to be able to see myself in certain situations without, I'm not going to get seen, am I? But to not be able to intervene. But at other times, it would be nice to be able to intervene and talk to the younger version of me, and to maybe stop me going down that road, that particular adventure that I was on, in the hope that it would improve my future life. But like all the movies, when changes are made, they always come back to a completely different world. I don't personally think that I've made that much of an impact on the planet that it would change the world, but it definitely might change my life. As George Michael once said, turn a different corner and we never would have met. And what's the other one? Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Yeah. I want your sex. Gotta have faith. Is anyone in that cubicle? I was a big fan of George Michael. I don't think he got the... I mean, he's a worldwide star, but he never seemed to play the star. He never seemed to really give it the big one, Like, I'm this amazing, huge... He just had a loyal fan base who loved him. Loved his music, loved his voice, and would go and watch him in concert and buy his records. He almost didn't need promotion. And they did try and cancel him, didn't they? The establishment, because of a few things he did, actually. But they never managed to do it because his fans loved him too much. I mean, you think about it, his first solo album was very risque, wasn't it? I want your sex. I can't even say it without feeling nervous and slightly unhinged. Slightly. I don't know. Yeah, there's a few events I'd like to revisit, but in a way where I could respond, but I could always pull myself off. No, that's not the right wording. I can pull myself away from the situation whenever I needed. Yeah. And I mean, of course, like everybody, there's some situations I wish I'd been there to maybe help the outcome of that situation, but we can't, can we? Can't. I mean, knowing what I know now, I do wonder if maybe I could have been a bit more school friendly. because I think a lot of it was my attitude as opposed to the teachers. But I'm not sure. I don't think I was easy to teach. And also, I just had no interest in the school stuff, really. And I only found out in later life that the only thing I'm going to learn ever really is stuff I'm interested in. I mean, I pick up stuff over the years. You know, there are things I've got zero interest in and I know about them. But generally, if it's something worthwhile and if it's something important, yeah. So I'm going to go now, nearly falling asleep. Remember to be kind to yourself. You deserve to feel happy. But also remember to be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.